So today, social media and email is the primary means by which we get into organizations, bank and others, to actually steal the valuable resources of these organizations. Good morning, or soon actually, it's already good afternoon. My name is Jorge Sebastiao. It's obviously a great pleasure to be here in Islamabad in Pakistan. And I think the organizers definitely deserve a big round of applause for the big efforts that they have put so far, especially Kuram and his big army of volunteers. For me, it has been quite a journey sometime. I remember it was about 22 years ago. I landed for the first time in Islamabad airport, invited by some of my colleagues, actually Karachi, and they took me to the airport to actually go speak to all the bankers in Karachi about cybersecurity. Obviously coming from Portugal and from Canada, when I got to the airport and I went to the car to drive me, my first reaction was like this. But I looked there and guess what? There was no seat belt. So I turned to the driver and says, so where is the seat belt? And he kind of looked at me, it says optional. Obviously 22 years have gone by and many of you have probably driven here. So the car that you drove here not only has a seat belt now, it has ABS, traction control, airbag, and many other features to actually preserve your safety as you get here. So that's really the business of cybersecurity. But you have to start step by step. So if you don't have a seat belt, airbag is not going to help you very, very much. So in the short time that I'm here with you today, I'm going to be talking about modernizing banking cybersecurity. What are some of the issues? I landed 2 weeks ago here in Islamabad in a very beautiful airport, but I opened the newspaper and I said, banks in Pakistan hacked, 20,000 cards and bank accounts information stolen. So I have to relive some of that information. So the timing of this talk is probably quite important. When we talk about cybersecurity, the importance should be about the user, not the technology. Because when we talk about cybersecurity in any context, the user is always going to be your weakest link. So how do we address the human element? So we always make, too many times, complicated rules for security of the systems, and that leads to a lot of problems. So this is Dilbert, which highlights this in a funny way. So we really have two kinds of users that we should worry about in any business, whether it's banking or others. The first is what I call the rogue or malicious user, which has internal knowledge and can actually do a lot of damage because he has inside knowledge, and because he has inside knowledge, he can go inside your systems and actually break them very easily. We have example of one guy here that you see on the screen, and he was able to break into the NSA, which is probably much more secure than even the banks themselves. But the second type of user is what we call the clueless user. This is the user that, without knowledge, forgets to put the seat belt or drives in a reckless way. So by the actions that they do as much risk to your banking organizations as they can do to your businesses as well. So, what are some of the very big attacks against the banks? But one of the big thefts or cyber heists against the banks was $1 billion were stolen from a Baghdad bank. But this was not electronic money, this was real money. So how much do you think $1 billion weighs? Because I mean, to steal this kind of money, you need a lot of logistics. You cannot just walk around with it. To be exact, it weighs something like 10 tons. So you need some massive logistics to go take all this money from the central bank. But today, with the technology like Bitcoin and electronic money, this same kind of money weighs about 1 single gram because it actually fits inside your phone and fits inside a small USB. So the world has changed tremendously in the last years. So since the attacks focus on the user, there's a lot of technology that is focused around phishing. And phishing is really extracting your information to attack you as a user. So there are many kinds of phishing attempts. There is phishing by SMS, there is phishing against your voicemail system, there is phishing against your social media, there is phishing by QR codes. How many people here used QR codes to scan somebody else's V-card? Is that really a V-card, or maybe it's a malicious website? So all of these can lead to problems and then later to more sophisticated cyber attacks. So today, social media and email is the primary means by which we get into organizations, bank and others, to actually steal the valuable resources of these organizations. But it's much more than that. If you're in a bank today, the cards that you use have a little thing called the RFID card. So these cards you touch, what we call contactless payments. It's very nice and very practical, but I can steal the information from that card. So if today you have wallets, I recommend you have one of these wallets that is metally shielded. Otherwise, your cards could easily be stolen by somebody next to you. Or they might be more sophisticated and actually use a drone as well, not just for the cards, but for the wireless access points as well. But since the money is in the banks, people like to attack the ATM machines. The ATM machines that we have today in the banks are still in many cases using old generation technology. So some people figure out where is the hole for the USB, they drill a small hole, they put a USB drive into the bank machine, and the ATM actually spits out all the money. No need to break into anything, very easy to steal out all the money. But some other of the big attacks is about the money transfers that exist within the banks themselves. Some banks like Bangladesh and others quickly figured out that people can extract large amounts of money like $80 or $100 million by breaking into the systems that I use to do the money transfers. In some cases, they were able to catch the perpetrators not because somebody was trying to prevent the cyber attack, but just because the attackers were lousy and mistyped by one single letter to whom they were transferring the money. But today the attackers are much more sophisticated. They're actually creating mobile applications that resemble the banking applications that you actually use to do mobile banking. So they invest a lot of resources to actually steal your hard-earned money. Today, even organizations like cybercrime invest massive amounts of money to actually create these cyber attacks. If they cannot have the knowledge to develop these cyber attacks, they simply need to pay for them. You can buy what we call an exploit for something as little as $5 or for as much as $500,000, and from there you can launch a banking cyber attack. What about credit cards? How much is your credit card worth on the market? You can go to websites and you buy bulks of them. It costs anywhere from $1 to about $5 for a credit card to be purchased online. And people purchase thousands of them to actually come and steal your hard-earned money. When we talk about these large cyber attacks, many of them involve malware that is used to then spy on the banking employees and then learn of the activities that they do inside the bank. Once these activities have been learned, then they launch the massive attack that actually extracts all the cash transfers from the bank. And this resulted in a $1 billion attack. So, if you're the CSO of a bank, you obviously have a big nightmare on your hands. So how do you go about fixing it? You have to deal with the internal users that are rogue. You have to deal with the clueless users, that's the orange and the apple. You need to deal with the internal masses of the systems that you have. You need to deal with the many layers that you have within your own infrastructure. But more important than that, you need to respond to these cyber attacks or these bank attacks in a very rapid way. That's why you need running shoes. You need to be agile. When we talk about the typical network in most organizations, banks or otherwise, there is many layers: network, operating system, applications, back-end, front-end systems, all the way up to the mobile or web application. Each one of those layers has got potentially vulnerabilities. Each one of these is a potential entry point. So you need to secure all of these to actually achieve a great deal of security. Today, the attackers can come from anywhere. They don't have to be inside your country. There's borderless systems. The internet is borderless. It is an asymmetric attack because they can launch attacks against you with minimal amounts of resources. You may have a 20-member team, but their one-member team can cause as much damage as your 10-member defense team. All the systems are interconnected, so this gives you a 24/7 risk. And it's very difficult to figure out who is actually attacking you. We call this attribution problems. So what do you need to do if you're really serious about cybersecurity today, specifically banking cybersecurity? You need to always continuously update your assumptions, because what is possible yesterday, today is more risky. Maybe the encryption systems that you use are no longer safe. Maybe you have vulnerabilities in your systems. The countermeasures that you have in place to prevent attacks are not effective anymore. So you need to continuously update them. Your staff has the wrong skills. There is an HR resource conference happening next door. You need to update the skills of your employees and your users to be able to defend yourself properly. But primarily security is about agility today. It takes on average 260 days to respond to a cyber attack. How much damage can you do in 260 days? By that time there is no money left in the bank. So you cannot take care of everything, so you need to have risk management strategies. Strategies to protect, strategies to detect the attack, and finally strategies of agility to respond in an effective way. We sometimes call this like a cyber drill. During this conference, one of the things that was done was a Pakistani cyber drill with the CERT. What is this cyber drills about? It's like a fire drill. In a fire drill, you're trying to save people's lives. In a cyber drill for a bank, you're trying to save people's bank accounts. So you need to update knowledge about the attacks and automatically, based on this knowledge, refresh how you respond to these attacks. But today there's so much data that a human being cannot understand all these attacks. So we're using new methods, big data methods, that correlate all these sources of information and make recommendations. We sometimes call also this machine learning, which is sometimes referred to as big data 3.0. But what is important in any attack, as I mentioned, is about agility. So you need emergency response, you need crisis management teams, you need to have the proper business recovery. But at the end of the day, it's the faster you do it, the less damage will happen to your bank accounts. So, what is the right level of risk that a bank should have? If you're talking about credit cards, 1 or 2% loss is acceptable to them, but in the context of electronic bank accounts, you need a much more trusted and much less risk appetite. You need to have the right security metrics. If you don't know how to measure security, you will not be able to how to defend yourself in the right way. So you need to have the proper methodology to be able to achieve the right level of security. So there is various standards that can help you do that. So we call this security metrics. At the end of the day, to be effective in security today, you need to combine many elements. The elements of physical security with the CCTV cameras, access control, the telecom security to prevent people from impersonating your mobile phone or through the mobile apps. or through the wireless technology. And you need, obviously, information security management with the right authentication, the right encryption methods, etc. So if I go back to the scenario of driving a car, today, if you're serious about banking cybersecurity, you need the seat belt, you need the airbag, you need the ABS, you need the traction control system. But again, you must not drive recklessly, otherwise you're going to still end up hurting yourself. So there's many new technologies that enable you to defend yourself effectively. Big data, machine learning, security metrics, honeypots, and there's other technologies. One of them is called fuzzing. Fuzzing is a technology in which you bombard all your systems with many kind of data to see how secure they are. This kind of technology was used to identify new vulnerabilities that nobody know about, and sometimes as much as 20 years. But this is not a complete list. There's many more, and we can talk about this after this presentation. So, in order for you to be serious about security, understand the risks, understand the value it has to your business, and then implement the right methods. Obviously, this is the short time that I had for you. Via social media, email, or other methods, I'll be happy to receive your requests for information and help you to share some more knowledge to make your banks and business systems more secure. But before I finish, I wanted to leave you with a short video that actually highlights the importance of cybersecurity. So let me play this for you. It's sound.
These guys are good. Let's get to work. A hot little startup with a great idea. Their target, a ProPass. Offices in 12 countries, 5,000 staff. You'd think they'd be secure, wouldn't you? Make some noise. A smokescreen. A decoy breach to hide what they're really after. Confidential information hidden in the depths of the system.
Still here?
The computer's crashed.
Join the club. See you Monday.
It's okay for some. Right now, the chances are someone, somewhere, is attacking you. And you don't even know it.
Okay, chaps. We're in.
I bet you're wondering how they got this far.
Give us a smile. Lovely. She's in.
Sensitive passwords and system details from a keystroke logger hidden under a desk for 6 months.
You got it?
Easy.
These guys, they know it all. Except, a few weeks earlier, a ProPass were hit by a smaller breach. It made the board stop and think how vulnerable they were. So they brought in the experts. It's never just an IT issue. They carried out cybersecurity training from boardroom to basement, identifying what was critical to the business. Threat and intelligence monitoring. They planned a cyber incident response and brought in their own ethical hackers to test the systems and make honeypots to trap the attackers. They reviewed the whole business from New York to Tokyo and devised a game plan for any breach.
Make some noise. We're in.
It's a denial of service attack. We're just monitoring the situation.
Have they got into any accounts?
Very clever. Someone else bangs on the windows, or you
man in the cellar?
They're onto us.
I'll try blocking them.
Is it working?
I don't know.
Well, I need to know, Gil. Is it working?
Lena, launch a worm.
These guys are good, they're really good.
They're blocking us.
Try again.
They're blocking us!
Try again!
Straight to me. Gotcha. Good, but not good enough.
You're okay. Traffic's blocked.
You can win, but there's always a next time.
Who's next?
Kobayashi Tech.
So who is next? Let me come back to the analogy of a car. I talked about seat belt airbags. Let's assume you have 3 or 4 cars in front of you. One car is running with the keys in the ignition. The other car is unlocked. The third car is locked. The fourth car is locked, alarmed, and it has one of these bars on the driver's wheel. I'm the hacker. Which car is going to be hacked first? That's the question. So which car do you want to be, or which bank would you like to be in the next cyber attack? So take care of those USB drives. It's been a pleasure to be with you here today, and I'm with you for the next 3 days, and hope you enjoyed the conference. Thank you very much.
I'd like to call Mr. Amjad Bashir on stage to share the token of appreciation to Mr. George. Mr. Amjad Bashir. A big round of applause for Mr. George. A big round of applause for Mr. George.
Yeah, an honor and a pleasure to give this award to you, George. I thought I knew a thing or two about IT and cyber attacks. I didn't. I've learned a great deal. Keep up the good work. We need honest, ethical business, and we don't want to be hacked. We don't want our accounts depleted with very little that we have already anyway.
Okay, thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.